We were low, we were high, drink or hide, I'll still stay by your side. You know I tried, I tried, I tried, I tried, I tried. I was wrong, you were right, justified, I was playing with
Hi guys, welcome to this video on May in Bloom. Today I felt like, I'm gonna make a video, and I even literally was rushing home hoping to get in a flight so that I could get this video out and have it ready for the weekend. My hair, little hair update, little lock update. My hair's been growing a bit more and I'm enjoying wearing it down, and just like I'm really enjoying the process. I can't believe that it's almost going to be 2 years soon, and I'm learning even more and more how to have a minimal but consistent and healthy routine with it. So that's a little update on the hair. Otherwise, we are good. We are here trying our very best efforts in holistic living, having a way to balance your life throughout the day, throughout the week. And I've started a really nice, I don't know if I told you guys this already, I've started a really nice routine that every weekend I go like hiking, because where I live I have some really nice mountains close by, and it's so nice to every weekend to just go by and hang out in the mountains or just somewhere different. You feel like your week is longer because you add a bit of adventure to it. So I'm excited about that for this weekend. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about having friendships that are good for your soul. I feel like as you get older, obviously you become more reflective on the friendships you have. Not only the friendships you have, but the friendships you've had throughout your life. And obviously, as we age, as we grow, as we change as people, we're going to maybe follow different paths, and sometimes maybe the friends we had before are going on different paths themselves, and you just naturally start reevaluating and having to exchange some friendships out naturally. I just think that friendships are quite interesting because you don't really ever like break up, you just like slowly go your different ways. I found that so interesting that it's also why sometimes I feel like we could learn a lot about how to behave in romantic relationships from our friendships, because they are a bit more live and let live. They don't have huge expectations, they don't have huge weights on them. They're a bit more softer, like people come together when they have things in common and they have things they connect to, resonate with each other. There's not a big thing about like, okay, so what am I to you as a friend? Like, are we best friends? Things just happen kind of organically, and then things stay together organically, and then things dissolve at some point organically. There's something beautiful about that, where I feel like romantic relationships to some degree are a bit more rigid, and there is more an emphasis of molding them and putting expectations and measuring sticks on. There's so many things that we put on our romantic relationships that maybe we could learn a bit more from our more platonic relationships, could influence more of our romantic relationships, and vice versa. Because obviously also in platonic relationships, I think it's quite important to also feel like you are with people who are nourishing you and helping you grow and helping you feel more safe in your space as a person, but also in a way that supports you towards your better self, more or less, or even at the very minimum, add more peace to you than chaos. As we also get older, there's also this feeling that we all have such busier lives, so it's not the same way we used to have space for friendships when we were younger. Like when you were younger, you just step outside, and whoever was outside, it was time to play, and you would play, and that would be that. But as you get older, then you start scheduling people in, you start calling, hey, would you have time this time? We need to catch up at some point. And then before you know it, you reach a point in your life where you're literally also like scheduling phone calls with your friends, especially if you're like somebody like me and you don't live so close to your closest friends. So if you have your friends more scattered around the world, like it becomes a bit more hard to keep track and keep in contact. Like I find myself between balancing my everyday life, my everyday job, my passion work on the side, and my own well-being, because that's also a whole other project. Staying close and present with my family even though I'm far, and also making sure that the friends I really do care dearly about also I stay a part of their life even though I'm far away. it's such a huge balance. Sometimes it can also feel very overwhelming. And it's not even like I have such a huge friend group. But the friendships I really enjoy are friendships that are a bit more in depth, a bit more soul connections. And I feel like I also enjoy having like real proper talks with my friends and catching up with them on their life. But I don't really feel like I get to do that as much because of adulting. So usually what I usually do throughout the week, like I try to say, okay, so I don't have time for maybe to call everybody, but in the weekend I place a bit more time around. For today, however, I wanted to talk about being persistent in seeking nourishing friendships. I feel like when we get older, we are a bit more aware of what works and what doesn't work for us. And I'm also realizing, not only with the people I talk to in my everyday life, in my friends, or even new people I meet, but also in my sessions, I'm realizing that friendships are quite important in how healthy we feel we are, in the good habits that we can feel consistent in, and also in just overall mental well being. There is such an important factor that friendships play in our lives. And I think a lot of us maybe grew up not having a healthy way of assessing some of the friendships we do have. Especially, I also really empathize with if you're somebody who's more extroverted, in which case you feel more energized being around people, and therefore maybe because that's how you usually get your energy and your life force, you might not feel the need or even have the option to be as picky with your friendships, because I think that also it's quite um, different if you're somebody who's more introverted or somebody who doesn't need a lot of friendships or is comfortable doing a lot of things by themselves or even being by themselves, because then anybody you choose to be your friend, or maybe I should just speak about myself because maybe not all introverts are like that, but I feel like it's been easier for me as I've grown up to maybe pick healthier relationships and have also a very low tolerance for BS relationships, because I also don't need too many friendships to feel fulfilled. If I move to a new city, for example, if I can have one or two really good friendships, like really good soul connections, I'm good. If I don't meet anybody else, if I don't talk to anybody else the whole time, I mean somewhere new, but I have those two or one or two people that I can go out for tea, I can go do activities with every now and then when my social gene shows up, then I'm fine. So I know that because I don't need as much, I have more of a privilege of choosing quality friendships, and quality according to what I value, because that could look different for you, obviously. And I've also been noticing a lot how when I see some of my friends and some of the friendships maybe they have, and you can see the different ways, of course, as I mentioned, how different friendships affect you differently, and they also affect your overall goals and well-being differently. Say, for example, you want to be more healthy, you want to spend more time in nature, you want to, I don't know, you want to eat better, but you have a lot of friendships that are built around, the friendships you have in your life are currently built around more unhealthy things, or eating habits, or even drinking and partying, or even smoking or doing drugs, whatever it might be. If you have friendships that are built around those things, and these people are still, of course, nice people, they're lovely people, you probably do connect to them, but because your goals are now different, you might feel like it's harder for you to venture into a new kind of way of being and existing that is healthier for you, because your friendships are centered around other activities and values, right? So there's all those things that when you get older, you become better at assessing. And also, it's also important to be a good advocate for yourself, in the sense that if you do have friendships that are wearing you down, whether it is just emotionally, energetically, or even financially, if you feel like you have friends that maybe at this age where we we're not all making the same amount of money. Maybe you hang around friends that are making more money than you, and they have desires to do activities or things that are a bit more expensive than what you're used to, and then you feel like, oh, I gotta catch up, so you're spending beyond your own means. I'm not saying that just by that would disqualify your friends, I am saying that there's so many ways we no longer become aligned with the friendships we had, or where there is struggles. And it's also up to you to realize which struggles, the challenges, the differences can be spoken about, in the sense of, hey guys, so I see that you guys want to go out for brunch every weekend, but that's a bit hard for me because I'm trying to save up. Or the money I make is not enough for me to be able to do that every weekend, yet I still want to hang out with you guys. Could we do some other activities every now and then? Could we maybe go for a picnic, or maybe go for a walk? Me and my walks, I'm always going to recommend a walk. Or go look at some free activities around the city that might not be as expensive, or maybe we don't even have to spend money, or even you can come over, we can have a little cooking day where we cook for each other for a Sunday. There's so many ways, of course, where you can have friendships, but you're still maybe on different fields, even paths, but you still connect soulfully. So then it's okay, you can still find a way to still coexist in each other's relationship, in each other's lives. But if you also sense that you are growing out of your friendships, but you feel like you don't know how to exit those friendships, but you also know that I don't feel good in these friendships anymore, I don't connect to what we speak about, I don't connect to what we're doing, I don't connect to what the values of this friendship was built on. Maybe I wasn't aware of it before. Maybe I was different before. And now I'm growing in a different path. And I feel like my friendships, or my friend is not able to grow with me in that way. Then that can be a bit difficult, because nobody ever teaches us how to break up with friends, or how to end friendships in a healthy way. Like I said, we usually just fade out. Um, it's kind of like the norm, that not even ghosting, but you just do less and less things together, and then before you know it, you're not as close anymore. But and I think, and I wonder if it would ever be necessary to have that kind of conversation with a friend, especially if it's because you guys are just on different paths and you like different things, and you also no longer have that tenderness towards each other that would make you feel like, oh, we're different, but we still love each other and we want to have a relationship as friends together. If you start feeling like there is no need for any of that, and you just feel like, oh, it's best to just let it go, then I think it's perfectly fine to just maybe suggest different things. If you feel like your friend or friends, if you're so lucky and you have so many, might be up to it, suggest different things that you feel like are more interesting also to you, and see, because maybe some of your friends might be interested in that. Maybe they're also just not, and that's also perfectly okay to let go and realize, okay, this friendship has served its purpose, and now we're somewhere where we have to go our separate way, and that's perfectly fine. Another thing with friendships I wanted to talk about is the initiation. How much are you initiating to see your friends, talk to your friends, write to your friends, share with your friends, versus how much are they also doing the same for you? I feel like this is also something I'm also quite sensitive about, because it's so important for me to be in a relationship, I feel, where we are both mutually interested in each other, and we are all also both equally mutually making an effort to stay close, and making an effort to have things to do together. And if I feel like, for example, I'm always recommending we do something, and you're always busy, you can't do it, or the plans never go through, then I feel like, oh, okay, this is maybe not a friendship I want to keep invested. I have my three strike rule for most things that I feel a bit relationship oriented. So I would say, like, okay, I'm gonna initiate at least 3 times without thinking too much about it. But after the third time, if the other person is not doing the same amount of effort, then I also slowly back away. I'm like, okay, this is a relationship that feels like maybe I'm more into the friendship than the other person, or maybe the person has just gotten used to me being the initiator. I also wanted to ask, how do you guys feel if you're in a relationship or friendship with someone? I also talked about this on my podcast, actually, on Bloom Baby Bloom. If you're in a relationship with somebody who feels like you guys are best friends, but you don't feel like you're best friends, in a romantic relationship, you would want both of you to be on the same page. Like, you're my girlfriend, okay, you're also my girlfriend. Oh, you're my boyfriend, you're also my boyfriend, whatever. Your combination. But in a friendship, is it okay if somebody feels like how we hang out and what you're investing in this relationship from my needs qualifies you to be my best friend, right? but maybe you might feel like, well, I have other requirements or other levels of intimacy when it comes to who I call my best friend. So for me, you're my friend, you're a dear friend, but you're not my best friend. And also, are we too old to be having best friends? Like, is it okay just to have friends? Do you need a best friend? Would you feel, I haven't said that in the longest time. I think the last time I had a friend who I really felt like that is my best friend and really identify with the term was when I was like 17. And it took me a long time, and it was even heartbreaking when I grew older and felt like I don't feel like we're best friends anymore, but you're still a dear friend to me. Like, I still value you as a person, but we've just grown so much apart. But I feel like I relate more to soul friends. You know, I have several friends I consider very close to my soul and I see as my soul tribe. And I don't need to have a best friend in that because I don't know, I think I've outgrown that title. I don't need to have a best friend, but I do need to have people I feel very close to. Like, I do like having people I feel close to, and I feel like my soul feels home with them, and their soul feels home with me. I feel like that's really important. So I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think about that, about the whole title of best friends, and if there's another way to have friendships that doesn't need those kinds of titles, basically. And do we cause more harm by placing those kinds of titles on people, whereas we are all evolving and growing, and maybe like sometime some part of your life you're closer to that kind of person in your life, but then another time you're closer to someone else, but you still love both the people. You know, you're just going through different phases that you share, have more in common with one or the other, but you need to label that as that's my best friend now, this is my best friend now. I also think if you have friends and you prefer to hang out with your friends a specific way, that you should totally voice that. For example, I prefer to hang out with people one on one. It's how I most enjoy people's company. I'm okay if there's more people, I will manage, but it's a bit more draining for me. I have the most fun and the most feeling of connection when I am one on one with people. Except if I'm with my family or people who I'm just very familiar with or feel very safe around, then it's not as draining because I can just be in my own space while I'm with them. One thing I really don't like is if I do invite a friend or if me and my friend are going to hang out and then last minute there's like a third person added to the mix. That throws me off. And it has nothing to do with the third person. Just I feel like, oh, I didn't pack enough energy for two people. I just packed enough energy for you. So then I feel like it's so nice to have friendships where you can actually say that, hey, I'd like to hang out with you one on one. Let's do something together, to make it clear that I am hanging out with you, not like in the sense of the more the merrier, because I know there's also some of you who are like that and you feel like the more the merrier, and I feel no, the more the stressier. I feel like I just like to hang out with a few people at a time. And I feel if you have a good friendship with someone, that's also something you can communicate. Like if somebody invites you over, it's okay to say who else is coming. Or okay, maybe I won't come because maybe I'm more in a mood of just you and me, right? And some people are okay with that, but some people feel like, why do you just want to hang out with me? That feels weird. Whereas some people are like, yeah, totally. I like to have one-on-one friendships with a lot of people. Or some people like a mix of both. I also know I have friends who like to hang out in groups, but also like when we are one-on-one. And I also like friendship where you can respect each other's capacity of energy, like where you can also hang out without over-engaging. If it's okay that, hey, come over, just sleep over. We're just going to watch some movies, eat some food, and mind our business. It's also nice to have those kinds of friendship where we just like to be in each other's presence, but you don't necessarily have to do something always together. I also think it's nice to have friends that encourage the healthier parts of yourself or your life. Friends who are, if you know, you have friends who are very active, or friends who care about what they eat, or friends who have good routines, because that kind of stuff also rubs off on you. So having friends that are going to encourage you in that way, if you yourself are trying to be more healthy, more grounded, or more calm, having friends that reflect those kinds of characters are also going to be beneficial to you. If you are more than like me and you want people who are do things that are a bit more exciting sometimes, or pull you out of your shell sometimes, and take you out of your routine sometimes. Having a friend, and I say friend because maybe I don't need a lot of friends like that, who is more like that, who like, okay, I want to do something different this weekend or this month. I'm gonna go a bit and be in your schedule. Like the other weekend, I was staying over at a friend's house who is a bit more, her schedule is quite different than me. She's very spontaneous, she's not too routine, she doesn't have a lot of her things planned. And before, I felt like, oh, I need friends who are more like that because that's how I like to interact and exist. But I'm also seeing, obviously, that I like the balance of different things. Just some things I treat like, a special spice. I don't need it every time, but just every now and then it's just right. So having friends who can invite you into their way of being, which is a bit more spontaneous, not so rigid, a bit more flow with the vibe, that can also feel nice because then you feel more balanced. You don't feel like you're doing the same thing all the time. Whereas I also like friends who I can depend on and who are reliable in the sense that I always know what you're up to Monday to Friday and the weekend because then I know like how I fit in and I know like what to expect from your routine. So it's all about having a balance that also helps fulfill you as a person. Another thing I also think it's important is being honest with yourself in your friendships in the sense of a give and take relationship. Do you feel like if you have somebody in your friend group or if you have a friend who's really nice, really generous, really open, I feel like it's also important to see, hey, do I also give to this person as much as I take from them and enjoy getting from them? And it doesn't really have to be tat for tat, but just in other ways, do you also make that person feel special and loved and appreciated? That feeling of knowing that you are in a relationship where you're both taking care of each other and keeping an eye on each other and valuing each other's presence in each other's life. I feel like that's something that we can all be better at, including myself, because sometimes you can get so comfortable on the receiving end, but I feel realizing how lovely it is to have friends like that in your life can also help you feel like, oh, I want to be that somebody for somebody else as well. Of course, the friend that does that for you as well, but also being that for somebody else as well and making them feel appreciated and loved and seen, right? Another thing I think is very important in relationships and of friendships is how you manage jealousy. Like I started out talking about like how as we get older, we might go in different paths. We might have different financial standings, have different jobs, or even different family structures, or even romantic relationships. There's so many ways that by themselves are beautiful, but then in a society that urges you to compare and compete, instead of collaborate and complement each other, I feel like it takes a bit more effort in having healthy relationships with people, even if you feel intimidated by their success, whether it's romantic or professionally or just them as a person. I feel like having honest conversations about stuff like that in your friendships is also something very healthy to practice, not only just for your friendship, but it can also like go out into your romantic relationships or even in your family structure, being okay with recognizing, hey, I feel a bit envious that maybe you got the apartment I dreamed of having, or maybe you are in a relationship that feels so healthy and I'm still single and I feel weird like hanging out with you because it makes me so aware of the fact that I don't have a partner and I would really like to have a partner. Or I sense that you know exactly what you're doing with your life, and I'm so lost. And sometimes I feel a bit envious of that in you because I wish I was also more aware of what I want to do with my life. And so sometimes maybe when you invite me to things or talk about your stuff, I feel a bit more resentful or envious, and I wouldn't like to feel like that. Hence why I'm telling you about this. And it feels like I'm having this conversation with you, but these are conversations I've actually had to be comfortable having and making space for because it also lets you see the other person differently in the sense of them making an effort not to have a secret world about you in their head, in the sense like if you have a friend and you're jealous of them and envious of them, you're going to act in ways that are not healthy for the friendship. That's just a fact. And so being able to vocalize that and say that to the person kind of takes away that sneaky part of it that might make you do or act in a way that is just not healthy for your friendship. And saying that in a way also frees you from the emotions to some degree, because you can also realize, okay, this friend is accomplishing things that I'm also realizing are important to me. And maybe that's a good thing, because having a friend that has those things can help me learn how I can have more of those things, or know that actually this is a good focus for me also to care about, because I can see it with somebody else and it's inspiring me to want that for myself as well. So yeah, basically being okay with having uncomfortable conversations also with your friends. If your friends do things that make you feel uncomfortable or make you feel hurt, being able to communicate that with them and know that it's going to be taken seriously. And the same for you, of course, because sometimes in friendships maybe we joke in a way that we think is funny, but somebody else doesn't think it's funny, or you might say something that you feel comfortable saying but the other person takes it in a different way. Knowing that you have a safe emotional relationship with them to say, hey, when you say that or when you did that, that made me feel a bit uncomfortable, and knowing that you have good friends who will care about that and be like, hey, that wasn't my intention, and I'm so sorry that made you feel like that. I'm going to be more mindful in the future about that. I had a friend who told me that I touch her too much, and I'm too affectionate with her, whereas I have other friends who are even more affectionate than me, and I like that. I'm a cuddly person. But for this friend, they were like, that's too much touching. It makes me feel uncomfortable. And because being able to communicate your boundaries and what you like and don't like with your friends, I think it's very good and very healthy. And when my friend told me that, she's like, you are so touchy and I don't always feel comfortable being touched that much. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to back away. It's just the way I show closeness, but I'm going to be more mindful, because of course your body, your rules, and I would like to spend time with you in a way that makes you feel comfortable spending time with me as well. So all of that to say, just it's so important to also practice good boundaries in your friendships, open communication, and a willingness to be vulnerable, especially if you want to have really intimate, close relationships with people. And also, maybe you don't have to be that close with everybody. Not every friendship has to be like blood infused. Maybe some friendships are just calm and chill, and that's good enough. But knowing also how you're fulfilled in spending times with your friends. But other things I feel like you can totally communicate, how you talk to each other. If you feel like somebody talks to you in a way that is not encouraging or degrading, or if you're working on your mental space and you hang out with people who say a lot of degrading things, and that's just the culture talk in your friend group, it's perfectly okay to say, hey, I'm noticing that often when we talk to each other, what we say is very mean and degrading. And I know it's all in fun and chuckles, but maybe we could think about how we speak to each other. I don't know. You could try that out. Maybe your friends would be like, that's too much from you. And then you can be like, oh, that's quite important for me. Maybe I'm going to need to find other friends. Maybe you don't say it like that in that group, but you can just decide that for yourself mentally. Because I've been in situations with people and I'm like, the way you guys speak to each other, I don't vibe with this. It's not for me. But also, I'm not invested enough to fix it. So I'm more like, okay. And also, the way I am maybe will be a bit too annoying for you guys. So I'm going to politely excuse myself out of this friendship. So just guys, I wanted to share all of that. I hope in some way it's of value to you guys listening as well, and that you are having good friendships that are nourishing and caring and supportive of the life and person you want to be, and that also help you get out of your comfort zone if that's what you need, but just friendships that feel true to you, and that you don't give up on the fact that that is possible. Don't feel so desperate for friendships that you are willing to take friendships or be friends with people that are detrimental to your well-being or your peace of mind, basically. That's it, guys. I hope you're well. I hope you're blooming wherever you're planted, even in this winter season. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Otherwise, do take care. And bye.
Good God, these people are crazy. Just fed the fear.